What does fearing God mean in our everyday practice? From the lives of Moses' parents, we learn that it means that we should not obey God's command that goes against God. That's a pretty simple concept and an important principle from the scriptures. God is the ultimate authority in life, and so when somebody commands us to do something that goes against God, we should clearly put God first. So, why is this one so hard to put into practice? Because of the fear of man. We fear the power or authority or influence that someone else can have in our lives, and so we give in and go against God. Now, the Bible tells us in a number of places that we should submit to those in authority over us. However, there is one clear exception to this biblical principle of submitting to authority, and this is when someone commands us to do something that goes against God. We find a number of examples of this in the Bible. For example, when King Darius of the Persians commanded that no one should pray to any god or man except himself, we read that David went home to his upstairs room where the windows were opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God just as he had done before. Daniel 6 verse 10. In the book of Acts, when Jews court commanded the disciples to stop teaching in the name of Jesus, they responded, "We must obey God rather than men." Acts 5:29. When Pharaoh in Egypt commanded the Hebrew head midwives to kill all the Hebrew boys at the time of delivering, we read that the midwives feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Exodus 1:17. They obeyed God rather than men. Hebrews 11:23 also reads, "By faith Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict." There were two reasons why Moses' parents hid him. The first reason, they saw he was no ordinary child. Different Bible versions translate this verse variously, as they saw Moses was a beautiful, fine, proper, unusual child. Isn't every child beautiful to every parent? It is just because he was fine that they hid him? Josephus, a Jewish historian, records several prophecies that supposedly took place before Moses' birth. He records that one of the wise men in Pharaoh's court predicted that a Hebrew male child would grow up to deliver the Israelites from Egypt. He records that God spoke to Moses' parents' father about Moses in a dream about his role. Second reason, they were not afraid of the king's edict. Josephus tells us the king's edict did more than just command the death of the Hebrew boys. The full edict of Pharaoh pronounced that if any parent should disobey him and venture to save their male child alive, they and their families should be destroyed. So Moses' parents chose at great risk to obey a command that would go against God. Do you experience conflict between human commands and God's commands? Who do you obey in such circumstances, God or man? Let's seek God's strength to obey Him when we are put to the test. Be blessed.